One of the things I always say is you're not a tree.
Yes.
If you don't like where you live, if you don't like your job, if you don't like something, change it.
Hello, everyone. It's Michele Phillips and Write Your Outcome. And today with me, I have Juliet Hahn, who I cannot wait for you to meet. In full disclosure, I met Juliet because she's my neighbor, but she's also a powerhouse superwoman who's doing so many different things. And when you talk about Write Your Outcome, let me just read her bio, and then we're going to dig into all the cool stuff. And when I say all, I mean there's a lot of stuff she's up to. So Juliet Hahn is a storyteller and communicator who helps people connect through real, meaningful narratives. She's huge and fabulous at storytelling. As Chief Communications Officer at FetTech and CMO of the Sopel Foundation, she brings storytelling into regenerative medicine and dyslexia advocacy, making complex topics feel personal, human, and impactful. I feel like, Juliet, I'm on this human trend because the last guest I had on the show was about making AI human connection. So tell me, when we talk about write the outcome, I say, write the outcome in every part of your life. You always have the ability to be the author of your life. What does that mean to you?
That means stay curious. And thank you, by the way, for having me on. I'm so excited. And I was outside, so I look like glassy. I guess the pollen got in my eyes.
You look fabulous.
All of a sudden I was like, oh my God, I look like I was smoking a joint. I was not. Nothing wrong with that. but I was
How did we even start there? Okay, folks, hang on for the ride of your life. Let's go.
So writing your own story of one of the things, and we'll get into it, but I was in advertising. I stayed home with my children because that's what I always wanted to do. And I am 51, and you just read my bio. So some of the work that I do for the Sopel Foundation, that's all my charitable give back. And that's amazing. And from there, it kind of led me into just bigger things, and FetTech being one of them. And that was also through my storytelling consultant company that I had before I started those things that I've retired now. It is staying curious. It is staying curious and following those breadcrumbs, listening to yourself, being so self-aware. If you feel like there's something bigger out there for you, not to put yourself in a box, because that's what you're supposed to do. So many people would have said to me, oh, you stayed home. How are you going to get back into advertising? It's changed, right? Advertising has changed so much. And I knew I never wanted to go back into the city, even though I love the city, but I didn't want it because I wanted to still stay home. I still have children that are, in high school, teenagers. And so it was really just this time I started a podcast. I started my first podcast because I didn't realize I was in a creative rut. I didn't, kind of look at myself as a creative person. We had moved out here full time and I wanted more. I didn't want just to play tennis and do these things. Nothing wrong with that, but I was like, I want more. I want to give back in a different way. So I call it daydreaming. I just daydreamed of what I wanted, and podcasts kept coming to me. And from there, it just opened it up. But so staying curious, I think, and following that curiosity, asking questions, being like, what is my body feeling? What do I want out of life?
I'm all over that. And let's clarify, out here is, we live at the doorway to the Hamptons. We are about 2 hours outside of Manhattan. So it is out here. It is a Long Island, and there's a reason they call it that. And there is a lifestyle out here. People play tennis, they join clubs and things. But you were not at that stage, or you had other interests.
I know, because of my competitiveness playing college sports, I knew that I couldn't just play for leisure. I like to win. Not that I need to beat someone else, but I don't play for fun, even though winning to me is fun. But I don't play like, hey, let me just hit the ball around. No, I want to win.
And so when I met Juliet over the years, I'll tell you, she was doing one podcast, and she was doing 2 podcasts. And I think how many podcasts did you do at one point?
So Your Next Stop, which is I just recently retired that. I started that in 2019. So I ended on season 5. And then from that, I had YNS Live with NFL Thread. I was doing work with the NFL. And then I had Word Blindness, which is the current one I still have, which is the dyslexia one. And I will say I have another fun thing, but I'm not talking about it yet. They'll have to kind of follow if they're interested, but I am starting something new, where based on what I'm doing with the company in regenerative medicine and kind of this alternative, really interesting space that we're in.
All right, so I want to make some connections because you're talking about staying curious. We're talking about write the outcome. And what I love about your journey is you don't just kind of wait till it's perfect. Like you have this one podcast going and then, oh, let me try. You said yes, and you're curious to the NFL podcast. Then you had the dyslexia podcast. And then I know from just talking to you, that led to this storytelling business. We're helping people tell their stories, which then led you to, be a chief person in FedTech. So again, it's that curiosity. And I think we were talking yesterday in the prep work, following the breadcrumbs. I always say follow the energy. So when you say follow the breadcrumbs, what does that mean to you?
I mean, it's following the energy. It's what feels good, what feels right for yourself. So I am, just a little background. I am dyslexic. So school was really, really hard for me. But I look at that. I failed so many times. So I am not someone that's like, I don't have that fear of failure. So many times when I started the podcast, people were like, oh my God, do you know how to start a podcast? And I'm like, no, but I'll figure it out. Everything's figure outable. And one of the things I know about myself is that I can learn anything. Like I was not allowed to take chemistry because I was the dumb jock. I was not allowed because I asked questions in biology that the teachers were like, I don't understand. She doesn't know what she's doing. But because I was curious, I was always a curious kid. I always want to know how things work, or I want to know how people work. So I love asking questions. I really do. I really am. Anyone I meet, I love just digging deep and getting to know people. Same out in my environment. I like to know what's going on. Now, I don't need to go like some people like are those research brains where they need to go all to the bottom. Yeah. I don't. I kind of like to get to the surface, maybe 1 or 2 levels. And if it's something that I'm like, wait, I like that, I run, I jump. Sometimes I used to always say I fly the plane as I'm building it, right? Yeah. It's not all together, but I do it. Same when I was in advertising in the city. We were just talking about this with someone. I had jobs that I was not qualified for, but because I can interview, I can get any job, and I'm serious. Like I can get any job, and then I figure it out once I get there. Because I've failed so many times. It's like, well, what if? Why not? Why not check it? And so that is a quality of myself that I do really respect and really see, because I know there's so many people out there that would never think of being like, you took a chief communications officer job with a salary. I mean, like it wasn't just like, hey, like this was like, something big. I did pause for a second and giggle to myself because I was like, well, wait, I know communications. I know all of that, but like, I don't know the biotech world. First of all, women in STEM, I would always be like, nope, that's not me. I'm not a woman in STEM because of my struggles, in school.
But talk about writing your outcome. So the fact that again, this is all mindset. And that's what I want people to realize as you're listening, it's rewriting the outcome. Like there is no such thing as failure. You just get results. And if you don't like this result, you try something else. Taking this big job, I love that chutzpah and the mindset. I am going to write my outcome. I will figure it out, or I will find someone else that will figure it out. Even podcasting, I put up podcasting forever and ever. I'm like, I do not want a podcast. I do not want a podcast. And here I am with the podcast. So in 2019, I know life is so ironic. In 2019, what was the landscape like in podcasting back then when you were starting?
So, it was so interesting. So there was still, people always say like, it's a saturated market. And when anyone says that, I'm like, think about how many people are out there in this world. There are people for anything. And I am not someone, again, that looks at it like, who's going to listen? Oh my God, what if my numbers? And I did it for myself. I did it because I needed a creative outlet. And when I first started it, it was really on personal journal stories. It was my story. I did it 15-minute snippets, and it wasn't interviewing. And I did, because I was as I was kind of recreating myself, when the kids got a little older, I was like, they don't need me as much. I was kind of struggling with that. Like, oh my gosh, well, what am I going to do? Like, this is so weird. I did not like that feeling. And I always had that fitness background. So I used to do classes for like women. Like we would
that's what you do. I forgot that hat you were wearing.
I know, that was right. That was a hat. And I did that for about 6 years. I led classes. I got certified and stuff. I did. But when we moved out east full time, I was like, you know what? It's such a small community. I really don't need to break into that and be another class. That just wasn't my thing. So I was like, I'm not going to do that. So I remember being really down. My girlfriend was dying of frontal lobe dementia we were the same age. So this is in my 40s. And I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. I'm feeling like really like, ugh, why? And I'm a very happy, energetic person. So I was like, okay, something is not right. So I would walk my dogs. I do it every day. You've walked with me, boxers. Now I have 3 because we're fostering one, which I think is going to be a foster fail. It's a whole nother story. I was walking and I was like, okay, what do I want my life to look like? What do I want my life to look like? And podcasting kept coming up. And as I was doing that fitness thing, I would have a lot of people say to me, because I did a lot of stuff on social media, but I was really authentic. Like I literally would wake up with my morning face, hair everywhere. And I would give everyone my day of what I was doing. And a lot of people connected with that because they're like, that's so real. Like you don't have makeup on, you don't do all that stuff. But I would have people nonstop say, you have it all together. You're fit. You have kids. Like you have it. And I would laugh. I'd be like, open my car or my house. Like I do not have it all together. And I'm also okay that I don't have it all together. Yeah. I don't want to have it all together. But I'm giving off that persona that's so weird to me. So that's what it started. I wanted to tell stories about like me choosing to stay home and what that looked like, being like, okay, I'm not going back. Then raising kids. And then my husband being in the workforce, but like working long hours and then coming home and being like, oh my gosh. And me being friends with every shopkeeper when we lived in the city, because we lived in the city with our 3 kids when they were younger. Some of the shopkeepers used to come over for Thanksgiving. Like I always friend everyone. I like people. As I said, I really love that. So it was almost like this. I want to show women that we don't have it all together and we don't have to be the ones that are working these high power jobs and making the cupcakes. Because in the town that I lived in Connecticut, I had like, they would make these beautiful cupcakes. And I know they were up until 3 a.m. because they would be talking about that. And I was like, and I stayed home and I'm like, I am going to Whole Foods and I'm bringing my Whole Foods cupcakes in a box. I'm not putting it on a platter and then pretending, because there was people that did that too. And that was so weird to me, not weird in a bad way, but I just didn't understand it because I am who I am. Like you get what you get. So I wanted to share with women that, listen, this is like, and it was a stage. We had just moved. I was losing a friend, perimenopause, I guess probably was in there, but I didn't think about that. But I knew stuff was happening and I was like, I want to do something different. So that's where that's how the podcast came. Okay. Then COVID happened. So that, and then something called Clubhouse. Clubhouse was the social audit.
Is that still around?
It is, but in a different sense. But when I got involved in it, it was the beginning. And so I got all of these awards for Podcasting Magazine because I got into like a really cool group of people that I learned from. And when I started interviewing, during COVID, I'd called it Quarantine Stories. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I am meant to do. So that's where it took off. I rebranded. It was called, now it's Your Next Stop. That's when the NFL stuff happened. And then I would go to the Super Bowl and do live shows and the draft and, the Hall of Fame, my co-host Cynthia Zordich on that. And then it was like everyone would come to me and ask me, not everyone, I shouldn't say, but there was a lot of people that would be like, I loved how I felt after your podcast. Like, what did you do different? I've been on a number of podcasts. What did you do different? And I am just, because I do really think this has to do with my dyslexia. And when I was in school, I had to read the teacher to be like, am I going to get found out? I don't know what I'm doing. So I had to be really knowledgeable about facial movements, about tones of voices, about things. So I knew what teachers I could get away, not get away with, but I could be like, I need help, or what teachers I had to fake it and be like, I need to ask a friend to help me because I am lost. So that was something that I think I really became really good at reading people. So that is one of the reasons why.
So let me start stringing this together again.
Yeah.
So a couple of things. So I love the saturated piece, right? It's kind of like, I'm not going to open a coffee shop. There's already a gazillion. Well, why not? Right. So then you have the moms, and people dealing with loss, but then you have moms that, at some point I always say, when are you just going to give it up and stop making the birthday parties bigger and everything? Oh, yeah. Help each other out here. Don't, so I love that.
The competition.
There.
Yeah.
And then you get involved with the NFL. And then, I'm just trying to follow the story as I'm listening. And there's a lot of people that might be listening that have all these ideas, but they haven't taken any action on them. So what advice would you give to, anyone listening that says, oh my God, I would like to do this, or I'd like to, but I've just, then they get frozen in fear or doubt or whatever. What advice or tips would you give?
Yeah. It's one step at a time, but I really truly believe when you are in the path, whether you believe in God or you're the universe, whatever you believe in, when you are in the path that you are meant to do. So like if you keep getting these little breadcrumbs or little energy hits, or you're talking to someone at the grocery store and they said they just wrote a book or they just started a podcast, and something inside of you either feels like a little jealous or a little like, a little curious, that is something that you're supposed to look into. And I can't say that enough because that is so important. You're at a cocktail party, you're at a school, whatever. If someone says something that is, and you're like, and then you hear it multiple times in your life, you are missing your path.
Yes.
You might be
this is so good. So be awake to your path, be awake to those little energy hits. Something I used to say was when I got jealous of someone or the green-eyed monster came out, if someone was doing something, I would say to myself, Michele, they evidently have something that you want. And then it's like, what have you done, Michele, to get there? And if I haven't done anything to get there, then it's on, game over. But if I want to get there, what are the steps? And I like what you're saying about the small steps. So talk to me about like your first podcast. So again, this show is not even launched yet. This is my 7th. And once we get a library, we're going to put it out there. Yeah. And I had that moment when I was laying in bed one night and I'm having so much fun and I'm meeting so many cool people. And that's energizing me in all areas of my life. But I'm laying in bed one night and I'm thinking, oh my God, how am I going to get people to listen? Who's going to do it? And then I was like, Michele, just have fun. Just have flipping fun. Like once you take that pressure off. So tell me about your first podcast. Did you go out looking for people? Did you just organically grow an audience? What did you do?
Yeah, no, I mean, so again, it started with the personal journal stories and I just shared it on social media and just word of mouth. And then I would have like people, and then the interviewing was Clubhouse. I was actually putting,
that's where they connected you to people.
Yeah. And I was actually doing 2 shows a week. I was interviewing 7 or 8 times, but like you said, it lit me up. I would run downstairs and the quarantine stories. And then as like the entrepreneurs and stuff, cause I would interview people that followed a passion and turned it into a business. But what I didn't realize, and I shouldn't say that, I did realize, but I was like, a lot of the people that interviewed were here, where I was starting here. So it was so cool because I was like, this is what I'm doing. I'm turning a passion into a business and I want to teach people how to do that. I want to show people how to do that. So that was a lot of my audience. And so it was really, I would do that. And then I got on lists. So then I would get PR companies calling me all the time. But my thing was, I really needed to make sure that I connected with the person. I didn't care how big they were, how small they were. If they could tell a story and we could have a good conversation, I knew my audience would get something out of it. So that's really organically how it happened.
Okay. I love it. So we have had so many talks and we just bounce off each other with energy. So I always say my 2 like top qualities are energy and optimism. I keep hearing the storytelling thread. What are the things that and you said what are the things that light you up? So give me either 2 adjectives or 2 things that just really light Juliet Hahn up.
Connecting with people is definitely, and connecting with people, but also being able to have like a deeper conversation, sometimes even if it's smaller, but the deeper conversations of how we work, right? What our fears are, what lights us up. Like that is like what people do and how they got there. That's one of the things that I love so much is finding out people's kind of like almost the red threads throughout their life and why they are where. But the thing that like one of my favorite questions to ask is really about people's grit. And I don't like to say what gave you the grit to do that, but really finding out some of the messy parts. I like to find out the messy parts and then how you get out of those messy parts.
So you know what you're leading me into. What are some of your messy parts? So how did you navigate? Because I always say people are, I always say negative is normal. If you think life is up, 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 I got, some land I want to sell you, right? It's up, down, over, around. So I always tell people you have to learn how to handle the lows. So you could share a low or you could tell me, how do you handle the lows? Because they keep coming.
Yeah. No, totally. I mean, I will give you like an example. When I was in high school and I played field hockey and lacrosse and I was getting highly recruited for lacrosse. I was getting recruited by University of Maryland. Harvard wanted me for field hockey. And when I say I'm also dyscalculia, ADHD. And so I learn very different than traditional school. I did not think I was smart. Like, even though I was like, I'm always been a positive, very confident person. But when it came to my intelligence in certain areas, I would always kind of just be like, let me have some cocktails. Yeah. Truth be told. which I don't drink anymore, which that is one of the things I would
same
do
with
that.
me. I always said I'm not a left brain. I always say math isn't my language. You know, give me some right brain stuff. I'm good. But if you give me some math, I'm like, I need that.
100%.
Yeah.
But
I still count on my fingers. So there you go.
100%. Exactly. And I do the same. Right. And, you know, one of the things, I had a teacher in front of everyone call me retarded my freshman year because I was reading out loud.
Teacher.
And she said, "What are you retarded?" Now, there's many responses that can do, but that left a giant scar on me. There's still days that if I tell the story and I'm a little emotional, I will get choked up and cry. Now, when I just said I was always confident and really like who I am and who I was, I got up because I was obviously mortified. And I said to her, "What are you, a bitch?" And I ran out of the class and down to the principal's office, crying, like couldn't breathe. And I ran into his office and I was like, I called him. I'm not going to say her name because I think she's still alive. I called blah, 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 bitch. And he was like, "Why would you do that?" And I said, "She called me retarded." And he's like, "Oh my God, why would she do that?" And my mom got called down, but my mom was like, she will get at, like, there will be apologies. My mom never cursed. So I knew I was going to get in trouble. But then my mom looked at me and said, we had to apologize to each other, whatever. But my mom looked at me and said afterwards, "You never make anyone make you feel less than."
And how did you, those are very wise words from your mom. How did you embody those words as you went forward?
Yeah. It was like, no one's going to make me feel less than. My guidance counselor used to tell me I wasn't going to college. And I was like, am I allowed to curse on this?
Why not?
Okay. I was like, fuck you. I will go to college. So I worked my ass off. But so University of Maryland was really going after me and I couldn't get my SATs up to play Division I. I took them, I'm not even kidding, probably 25 times. And I was 10 points off of going Division I.
Oh my God. Talk about resilience. I took it once and it was brutal. You took it 25 times.
I mean, it could have even been more. I took it so many times because I wanted to go Division I. I wanted to show that I am worthy, that I can do it. And I'm like, just because school wasn't easy for me.
I got to stop you because this is so exciting. I want everyone listening, like, here's the thing. Each of us has this secret juice. Each of us has our secret powers. And it's not always what society says. Just because you can't pass a standardized test doesn't mean you don't have intelligence and brilliance. And I love everything you're saying in these stories about, you know, just trying. And the more things you try, the more things you know what you're good at and what you're not good at and what's resonating. And you're literally writing your outcome. Mm-hmm. And I think the key takeaway I'm getting from listening to you is like, you know, really figure out a way to look at the fear and the ego and whatever bias you have and figure out how to overcome it. You know, there's that book I read years ago, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I remember once in a class, I don't know we were asking for questions and I wanted to quit my job. And this is before I started my business in 2000, but I was terrified to leave. I had a good corporate paying job and I was doing what I love, but I knew it was bigger than me. So I was there. The teacher was like, "Who has a question?" I raised my hand and I just started bawling and I never even knew where the tears came from. But later someone said to me, because when you speak your truth, like when you touch that place in yourself, and I'll never forget the teacher was like, "Do you think Gandhi wasn't afraid? Do you think Jesus Christ or Martin?" He's naming all his names, like Martin, like they still went forward in fear. And it's like those words from your mom, they just shifted my outcome. Exactly. It's like nobody says I have to be not afraid, but I have to still take the step, even if I feel afraid, you know, if I want to change my outcome.
Yep. Yes. And you know what? And I didn't, and I didn't go Division I. I ended up going Division II and playing 2 sports. But that's when I had a whole different career, like a path. I was going to go into corporate fitness, but I had to take science and I started failing. And then I was like, I'm going to drop out of school. And then I didn't. And then I went into communications. And that's where I found who I was. And then I was smart and I could learn. And it was this whole like self-discovery thing. And as you said, the fear thing, what I will say to everyone that wants to start something, you have to think about why you're starting it. And as you said, it can't be because of ego. It can't because I think I can make money at this. It can't be this. You have to do it for yourself and not put expectations on it. So when I started my podcast, I said, I am going to give it a year. And I marked it down. And I was like, I'm going to do it every day. And if there's things that I hate about it, I'm going to try to figure it out. So I knew I needed an editor. I was like, okay, after trying to edit the first one, I was like, I will never do this. I can't do, like, I suck at editing. And so I need someone else to do that. So the money that I made in my fitness stuff, because I also didn't want my new creative hobby to be my husband's financial problem. So I was like, let me figure it out. I babysat dogs, and my husband does very well. Like, so it was like our family does well. So I was like, I don't want that. I'm going to, and all the fitness money that I had made, I was like, I'm going to put that back in there. And so I figured out how to do it on my own. But I was like, okay, even if there's times where I'm like, I want to stop, I will not. I'm giving myself a year, and I'm not putting any expectations to myself. It doesn't matter what, if someone else likes it, am I enjoying it? That's what am I liking this? Do I love it? How do I feel doing it? And even if I didn't feel good in certain times, I was like, you have to see if it passes, because there is things you can try and then you're like, okay, I totally know this is not for me.
Right.
But that's when sometimes things get hard, right? It's like, oh my God, my numbers are not where I want to be, or the creative, or I hate posting on social media. Those things you have to find out. Can you hire someone else to do it, or can you change how you do it? But you have to keep feeling good in it.
And that's what, I just love this. What I love about what you did was you also, it's almost like the recipe. Do I have the right ingredients, right? I always say if the ingredients stink, the recipe is never going to be good. But instead of saying, people make it so black and white. Do I like it or not? And you were like, you weren't like that. You're like, I'm going to give it a year. I'm going to figure out what I like, what I don't like, and I'm going to tweak it. And that's where people start, they go down the road and they start doing something. And then the minute something goes wrong, they go, oh, was it meant to be? And they walk away.
At too soon.
Yeah.
And that's the test, right? That's the test from God, the universe, whatever you believe in. When they want you, it needs to get hard to see if it's supposed to be. And I didn't mean to interrupt you, but go ahead.
No,
so you're
that's
watching.
okay. We're just bouncing off each other. I just read Ina Garten's book, Be Ready When the Luck Happens. And she talks about perfecting a cake. I can't remember. It was a Boston cream pie. She said she took 6 years to play with the ingredient. And I'm like, oh my God, like I would have totally abandoned that after probably one try.
I hate cooking. Yeah.
But it's, it's really like, there's so many key points you're making here. It's like paying attention to what resonates with you, what lights you up. And then it might not come out exactly as you want, but then you shift it. And I always say to people, we live in a world where people want the instructions. How many almonds can I eat at 11? And how many hours, target heart rate I'm like, oh my God, stop. Like, just move your body. Eat food from the earth, and pay attention to how it makes you feel. So it's really helping. What you're doing naturally is what most people don't do. It's like they tune into themselves. Is what I'm doing giving me the result I want? And if it's not, you can change it. So that's so brilliant. So, oh my gosh, what's giving you the most joy today? It could be anything. What's giving Juliet joy?
I mean, first of all, my kids, that they are my life, my husband, my family, the dogs, crazy boxers. But really just seeing where things go, my curiosity of being like, okay, like this doctor just called for like the stuff that I do for Fet Tech. We just have our second FDA approved, medical device, but we're in the aesthetic market, and I can go into that a little bit if people are interested. But it's really fascinating because it's a world that I am not familiar with. And so I am learning so much. And I always, because school was so hard, I always would kind of put like, I don't like to learn, but I am a natural, like I love to learn. I love to figure things out, and I love to see where things are going. I love what's giving me the most joy is the daydreaming of like, I'm in my second act. I'm 51 and I am doing what I am meant to be doing. And I will do this till the day I die. There's like, and I said it to my husband a million times, like, give me a couple more months, give me 6-7 months. I want to retire you. And I want you to be able to then go do what lights you up and what you love. Cause you've been the breadwinner. You've been the one that, yes, you like your jobs. Yes, you liked what you've done, but is it really what you're meant to do? Like, take a little time to see. And maybe it's not. Maybe you're supposed to go back into the world that you were in. But like, just really kind of playing and daydreaming and seeing, what I'm doing now, where it's going, and what is the potential out there. Like, and I don't want to say for the first time, because again, as I said, I am a confident person, but this whole world that I'm in, science, math, it is out of my comfort zone.
That's what I want us to land on a little bit, because I just admire your confidence and brilliance to put yourself in this situation. And in the research, they'll say that if a woman's going for a job and she looks at the requirements and she's missing one or two, she doesn't apply. A man could be missing half of them and he applies. So unfortunately, women, we just look at things differently. So for someone listening that is saying, oh my gosh, I could never, what are some advice for just like putting your toe in the water, getting out of your comfort zone? What would you tell some?
Yeah. So I think it's that feeling. So I have to say I'm more like the man. I would always look, I'd be like, no, I can do this. What are they talking about? I can learn it. I can figure it out. Knowing your strengths and weaknesses, I think is a really, really, again, being so self-aware of who you are and how you tick. So there's things like, right. If someone said, do you want to be an accountant? Like you can make this amount of money and you can be like, no, I would be like, I don't care how much money. That would be my worst freaking nightmare. Right. I do not like numbers. I don't like that. And it's not that yes, I had bad experiences in math because of my dyscalculia. However, it's not what lights me up. So like, if you're like, even to dip your toe in to think, okay, I'm scared, I'm nervous, but is the feeling I'm getting a nervous, like a bad nervous, or is it an excitement nervous? And that's again, where you need to be so self-aware of yourself and think about your strengths and think about your weaknesses and not think about others around you, not think so what my neighbor is going to do, or what is my neighbor going to say, or what is my family going to say if I do this? And this is another thing that I think is so important. Like people that are in the wrong career and they're like, well, I can't get out of it. Right. Cause this is what I said I'm going to do.
Yes.
You're right. And I interviewed so many people that were maybe doctors or maybe lawyers because that's what their parents wanted them to do. And that's where, like, raising my kids, what I say to them all the time, try so many different things, find out what you don't like, because who knows what you like? We all like so many different things, but who knows what you're supposed to do? But if you allow yourself to just, again, do things that you're like, I don't love. I'll take it back to a really funny thing. When I was in high school again, I got a job at the beach. I was going to spend the summer with a friend, and I was, obviously I had to get a job. It was like the first year I stopped competitive swimming, and my parents were like, fine, you can stop competitive swimming, but you got to get a job. So I first was a dishwasher and was like, oh, I hate this. And I gave them my notice and I was like, I'll let you find someone else, but I'm really not good at this. And then I went and I got a cashier's job on the beach at this like really cool hut on the boardwalk. Okay. Now I had to run my own cash register. I overtip. I never undertip because that's like I'm always right, but I cannot do mental math. I have no sense of it. Anytime you say like numbers, my brain shuts down. I'm really bad with numbers. I'm really bad with math. I'm really bad with money. Like, but it's not.
But being able to admit that is important. And some people try to hide it.
Right.
Like my husband's such a math head and I'm like counting my fingers and I'm like, that's my deal. I'm sorry. I can figure it out, but it's going to take me longer than you. I didn't mean to interrupt your story.
No, totally. But so that's the thing, to find out what your strengths and weaknesses are and then tap into the emotion you're having. Is it a normal emotion? Okay, I'm nervous of this because I actually really suck at it and I don't know that I really want it, but it's come to me and someone said it, or maybe it's come to me a couple times and I just listened to this podcast and I'm supposed to go do it, but it's not meant to be your path. Knowing your strengths and weaknesses and knowing that energy and when you feel good about something.
So many good things. I had a friend years ago who went to college and he took tons of courses and they pulled him in the office and said, what are you doing? He says, I'm trying it all out. He said, I don't want to come to college to pick a major. I want to come to college to try out things. And I think that's what people do. And sometimes I tell people, if you're in a job you don't like, it's not a life sentence. There's no bars on your feet. So you have to figure out, what you want to do next, and do something. And then one last thing you triggered in me, which I love. Someone sent me a fun Oprah, like a little clip. She was in, as a commencement speech. But she said, when you start doing things differently than everybody else is doing, your friends and family, she says, they're going to be afraid of who you're becoming, but they're not going to say to you, oh, you're making me uncomfortable. You're making me afraid. She goes, they're going to say, who does she think she is? And she said, so make sure you surround yourself with people who fill your cup. So when people tell you you're full of yourself, you're like, I am full. My cup runneth over. And I just love that.
I love that.
Finding new tribes and figuring out, the people that are going to help keep lifting you as you're trying all these new things.
Well, and I love that so much, Michelle. And one of the things I always say is you're not a tree. Yes. If you don't like where you live, if you don't like your job, if you don't like something, change it. Change it and move it. And it is a scary thing, but right. When people are uncomfortable, when you're in your path, and I will say and, women would tell me this all the time. I've been very fortunate. I've always had really strong women friendships and that people that have lifted me up. But even moving out here and then starting this new career, right? I mean, I have a big job now. I do really important things, and seeing the women that have stuck by me and asked me questions and want to know. And then the ones that don't even ask. And I'm like, I see you. And that's fine. I know where we stand and I'm fine with it. But it's very interesting because sometimes when you rise above and make things really big, it makes people that are not doing things uncomfortable, and you can't let it bother you.
And it's real on both sides. I have really powerful women friends. But I'm also, I always tease, I'm like a silent competitor. I'm not going to tell you I'm competing, but I got a competitive edge in me. Right. But then when one of my friends, I made a decision years ago. So when one of my friends does something good, we decided we do the happy dance. We just hold hands and we jump up and down, we hoot and holler. And I said I want to be the biggest cheerleader for my friends and for my people. Sometimes I'm a little jealous, like people get, gigs or they get something, but then I'm like, you know what? But it's really something I had to hone in myself to, be aware of that little envy that comes up in each of us. And now what makes me so happy is when certain friends call me because they know I will celebrate with them. But I had to work on that because, in the beginning I was like, how come it happened to her, not me?
Right.
But it's in all of us, right? There's two sides of this. So go ahead, finish your thought.
Well, I was going to say, you just have to know yourself and know like, okay, that is something that I need to work on, right? It's not something I like and work on it. Yes. I mean, it is again, self-awareness is so important.
We could do a whole show on that.
Yes,
what final words of wisdom would you give our the listeners on rating your outcome?
Go for it. Don't and I know I'm saying this so many times, but don't let something stand in the way of what you're supposed to do. If you have a dream, and I say to people, find that place that you can either meditate, daydream, find that place that you can go and picture the life that you want. And then figure out how to do it. And it can be as big, like I want this house over here. I know I want to be in this neighborhood. I want a front porch. I want this color door. I want to live in this area. I want a second home. I want this kind of car. And I know I just named all of these like material things. Yeah. Okay, but then also like I want to help this foundation. I want to get enough money to be able to help.
Feeling every day.
Yeah. And right, I want to help this foundation, or I want to put money into that school. I want to, I want to buy my kids a car. I want to make sure my kids don't have debt when they're in college, right? All of these different things. Dream of it, and then think, okay, how can I get it? And then again, just be aware of what's around you. What lights you up? If you're in nature, do you love singing? Are you like a flower expert? And people don't realize that. Are you a great gardener? Can you start a side gig by talking about gardening? Yes, you can. You can make a workshop.
Yes,
there's things that you can do. So just really go for it.
I love, everything you said. I'm so all over this because I always say I manifested so many things in my life by visualizing them, by writing them down, which is why the show is called Write Your Outcome. So anyone listening, we could talk all day long till we're blue in the face, but you have to try it on. So I always tell people, try it on for 30 days. Write your outcome, write what you want. I tell my coaching clients, I want you to write me 2 years from now, pretend it's 2 years and you got everything you want and you're running into me in the coffee shop. What would you say to me? Oh my gosh, Michelle, I can't believe it. So tell, before we close out here, tell people where they can find you.
So you can, since I do a lot of things, I have a lot of different handles, but so you can really find me. I am Juliet, Juliet Hahn. LinkedIn is Juliet Hahn, but you can find me pretty much. And the reason why I am Juliet Hahn is there is a professor at the Citadel with my same name. And so I had to do that. But so like my Instagram, there's a couple, but Juliet.N as in Nicole.Hahn, or I am Juliet Hahn, Facebook Juliet Hahn. And then I do have a website that has my podcasts that are there. And then FETTech is FETTECH.com. If you're into regenerative medicine, we have a number of different FDA cleared. We're in the aesthetic space, stuff with lasers, microneedling. If people are like, why does your skin look so good? Check out rayagel.com, and that's REYAGEL.com.
Oh my gosh. So like I said, she's up to a lot of things. She's an impressive woman. So please connect with her on any level. All of these will be in the show notes. And Juliet, just thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I love how this is like switched. This makes me so excited.
I'm sure I'll be having you on again. Everybody,
I love it.
It's Michele Phillips signing off. Write your outcome.